Thank you, Patience. So that's who we are. We do policy research and advocacy mostly at the state level, but obviously we also work on federal issues. And we are one of the only shops in Kentucky that's producing this kind of information for our legislators and our common people here in Kentucky. So you are here to hear about our Summer Policy Institute. Several years ago, KyPolicy decided that we really wanted to improve the pipeline of people that are working within policy in Kentucky and just kind of create an extra space where people can learn about what this work looks like, how it affects their communities, and how they can hopefully join in that work. And so from that hope, we created a 4-day residential program. Last year and this year, it'll be in Berea, Kentucky, on Berea's campus, June 22nd through the 25th, and that's this summer 2025. Students will have their own private rooms on Berea's campus with some shared shower facilities. Every year thus far, so we've ran this program twice. And it's been a great time both years. But both of those years, we've had one student who did not want to stay on campus, and we understand that lifestyles may not allow for that. We encourage non-traditional students and know that care responsibilities may conflict with staying on campus for those 4 days. So we have always made an exception, but we do want to push that it's an exception because we really do want our students to enjoy this container and be with their cohort, be with their people. And it's also very probable that late night work may be part of it as well. And so just for the betterment of the team, the betterment of everyone that's there, we do encourage students to be able to stay on campus as much as possible. Most meals are served in the cafeteria on campus, but we are really happy to work with Berea because they are proud to accommodate any and all food allergies and specialty diets. And so while it is cafeteria food, we are really excited that we can accommodate for most anybody's allergies or diets. And we will coordinate with students before we get started. For the program itself, there is prep work involved. Students will receive reading materials and have 2 to 3 video calls before the Institute in order to get people prepared to just like hit the ground running when we get there. And a lot of that is during the program itself, students are broken up into cohorts. So you all get to choose what issues are really important to you. And then we will place you in a group and you all will dive deeply into that policy topic together. And then by the end of the program, which is very fast paced, those cohorts then present a policy solution for the issue of their choosing to us, to everybody that participates in the program, to SPI alumni if they can make it. And we also just invite anybody that participates to come and watch presentations at the end to really celebrate your work and what you've been able to put together. So that's a big reason why we do encourage people to stay on campus as well and do the prep work. So again, those videos will talk about how we do our research so you can have a basic understanding of how those things work. And then those materials you'll get will be around that policy issue so that you get to submerge yourself in that issue before you even get there so you can bring your best ideas to your crew from the get-go. Let's see. During the day, students will attend lectures from policy experts and hear from grassroots advocates. On Tuesday, we'll head to Frankfurt. And while this interim schedule is not set yet, our biggest hope is that students will be able to attend a committee meeting, and we absolutely know students will hear from legislators. They will be able to hear from people working in the field exactly what it looks like to be a policy advocate, someone who writes legislation, just across the board, all the different places you could be working within policy. And then let's see, and advocates for your career. So this is an intensive program arranged to build bonds and a deep knowledge in one policy area and a general understanding. So you have deep bonds, real deep understanding in one policy area, but then you'll also leave with a general understanding of tax and budget, economic security, and the criminal legal system here in Kentucky. The application process is competitive. We will only accept between 12 and 15 students, but it is free. So to apply to attend the entire program is absolutely free to its participants, and we appreciate y'all for your interest and for showing out. So, are there any questions before I pass it over on how the program itself is laid out, or anything like that?
Hi.
Hi.
Are there any specific requirements that we need to apply for this, like age range, career, like any of that?
Sure. I will pass it over to Pam as she is going to answer the who should apply and how to apply. So thank you so much for giving us a nice little segue there.
And if you still have questions after I go through this, you can ask your question then, but hopefully I'll answer your question. And so, as Natalie said, we accept between 12 and 15 folks for the program. And I have to say that I really, really have enjoyed my time with SPI and the folks who are participating in SPI. Historically, it's been kind of the high point of things that I've done, throughout each year that we've done it. So the parameters are that you have to be a current Kentucky College student who will graduate in May or start your junior or senior year in the fall of 2025. So that's essentially 2025 graduates, rising juniors, rising seniors, or if you graduated in 2023 or 2024, you're also eligible. So people who have graduated in the last few years and people who are in school right now, rising juniors, rising seniors, graduating in 2025. You have to be at least 18 years of age, and we encourage non-traditional students to apply. So every year we've had folks who are a bit older that are, after raising their children and their children are out of the house, they're getting a degree. We encourage all majors and we value a diverse group of students because it's more interesting when you have people from a lot of different backgrounds that can share their experiences. We especially encourage applicants studying social work, public policy, public health, criminal justice, or related fields, because those are the topic areas. But even if you're not studying one of those areas, but you're interested in one of those areas, that's fine too. Application is now open, and we have a simple Google form that we ask you basic information. And the first thing is, in 500 words or less, tell us why you're interested in being part of the SPI and describe what participation would mean for you, how it might relate to some of your personal goals or professional interests or advocacy aims or anything else. And then we ask you to list 2 or 3 state policy issues you're interested in learning more about. And one of the reasons we ask you that is because from that information, we decide what our cohorts are going to be. So if you're going to apply, really think about that and think about what you're interested in. And we try to get some people their primary interest, but that doesn't always happen because if everybody's interested in one thing, it doesn't work out. But in any event, we use that to inform our process. And then we ask you if there's anything else you want to tell us about yourself, your interests or your interest in the program that's relevant to share. And that's it. That's the application process. And the deadline is March 31st. So are there questions you might have about any of that I didn't answer?
No, that answered my question.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Pam, for reviewing the how and who when it comes to applying for the program. And we want to finish this call out, but I'm just excited that our agenda is lining exactly up with the time it is right now. Uh, we said we would start this at 3:43, and it is 3:43. So we like to include people who have gone through the program, and we have some questions for them, but we also encourage you all to ask questions. So Patience Martin, who is a KyPolicy employee, now started out as an SPI attendee, and so did Phoenix Berry. And so our first question, and we didn't go through this. If we could, we might just ping pong on Pam if you want to, so it's not just me going back and forth. But the first thing I'll ask Phoenix, as a recent SPI alum, can you tell us about your experience? Anything you want to share about your experience with the Summer Policy Institute? And if you're able to come on camera, we'd appreciate it, but I understand if you cannot.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say my hair is not done, so I don't feel comfortable being on camera. Um, but I did want to say that my experience was super amazing. Um, to be honest, when I was like applying and learning more about it and going through like the pre-meetings and stuff like that, like I was a little bit skeptical, like I was a little bit nervous, but like as I started to go through it, and I feel like the intensity of it really helped shape like my entire experience, which overall was just like life changing. Um, I feel like there I was able to really ask like questions and like have conversations and stuff like that with things I didn't understand. It was really receptive. Um, and it was actually like really encouraged. Like if you have any questions like when you're doing the entire thing, like they really take that no question is a dumb question to heart. Because I had some questions that I thought was like, maybe this is a dumb question, but they were like, no, like ask it. And it felt really empowering. Um, and I also made like some friendships along the way that even helped me like now, like we still grow as like, a community, like this these group of like research nerds like doing like policy advocacy like in their own unique way. Like it's really amazing. Like yeah, it's probably one of the like top 10 moments in my life.
Oh, that's exciting to hear. You want me to ask the next question to Patience? And thank you for that, Phoenix. Patience, you were part of our inaugural class. Can you tell us about the relationships you've been able to sustain since SPI?
Well, I think it's pretty convenient and front-facing that I am now the KyPolicy State Policy Fellow. So the relationship with the organization itself was able to continue and deepen and remain very strong. But alongside that, it has been, like Phoenix said, I got to form friendships with other folks in different fields technically, but folks across the state, either recently graduated or currently in college that shared my interests, and they were also on the same level of me as like trying to figure things out and what the broader network does look like in the Commonwealth. And so I've been able to keep those connections since SBI and use those as also boosters for, oh, also like the grassroots organization that we were introduced to during our SPI conference. This is what they're up to now, and this is how they're growing. And actually, they're hiring, and actually, they're looking for canvassers. And so, like, continuing that through line of communication of the who's who and what's what. But then also, not necessarily like sustained personal relationships, but it was so valuable to be in direct contact with Kentucky lawmakers for the first time and establishing a comfort level that was not there before to approach them and interact with them and be able to navigate what it's like to either go to Frankfurt, be in person, like have those kinds of meetings, but also just the idea of contacting your legislator and the navigating that kind of advocacy, even just as a general person that I hadn't gotten to do in that way before.
That's awesome. Thank you. I would love to hear, Phoenix, what was the most fun or entertaining part of your experience? And I'm asking going, I don't know what you're going to say.
Mm, I feel like the most fun or entertaining part was when everyone like split up into groups, and it was like that bonding exercise that you all had. And it was like we were supposed to take the marshmallows and like, yeah, it was super lit. I feel like that was something that I have never like built a relationship like that before. Like usually I feel like when it comes to bonding and building like teamwork, a lot of the times it's usually just a lot of conversations, but I feel like, the I don't know, like activeness part of it. I'm trying to like stay vague, but like it's just something that I feel like really hit the hammer like on the nail when it came to like teamwork. And it was so just interesting just to see how everybody was and just to see like what people like came up with and just like I don't know, it was just so interesting. It was literally like the funnest part. That's just my opinion.
Natalie, you should describe briefly what that was.
That I think I want to keep it a surprise, but I just want to say that Lily also brought it up last year on this call. So when we did this last year and talked to Lily from year one, she brought it up. I'm like, we have to do this every year. Like I think it is a communications and teamwork activity involving um, marshmallows and toothpicks. And it is active. It is very active and frustrating and fun. So thank you so much, Venus. Pam, I'll give you any of the next questions you might want to ask.
So, Patience, tell us about what your favorite moment of SPI was.
I would say there are different categories of favorite moments. And like, so I'm already a staff member, right? So I can't be accused of trying to get any brownie points. Like, I'm already in. But genuinely, moments that were really salient for me was when staff members, including our director Jason, would sit and have meals with us in the cafeteria and would like be intentional about initiating conversation and like really getting into the weeds of questions we might have, but also just being personable and forming, like actual, like friendships. Like, oh, like they're inviting us to share this information that they have, but they're also invested in us and like our experience here and like what we're gaining out of it. And, offering the organization connections as like a long-term thing, like, to turn to whenever SBI alums have questions about whatever they might find themselves doing with policy or advocacy. And then in another category of favorite events, also hearing some of the lawmakers describe kind of their decision-making process, like whenever they're having to really like put the hammer down on how they would like to vote on a bill, for instance, and hearing them talk about the ways in which they take in constituents' input and how they do like track what folks are saying and when the folks are reaching out to their offices, like listening to those people that they're supposed to be representing and how it's impacted the way they voted in the past. That was a really powerful moment of like, oh, like what an individual can say matters, and also like putting into perspective the power that you can have as a like broader group when you all like get collectively try to make your voice heard to the representatives. So those were, I think, like were my two.
Well, thank you all so much. I want to wrap up our side of questions by asking Phoenix and then also Patience, if you want to answer this as well, if you would like to. Why should someone apply for this program? And then after you all answer those, we'll turn over to our guests and any questions y'all might have. So the first question, why should someone apply, Phoenix and Patience? And then we'll pass it over.
Okay, yeah. I feel like people should apply like because the program in itself is like really like I'm not even sure like of the perfect word to describe it. It's just something that you learn a whole lot and just the information that you're able to get, like it's broken down in a way that is like actually able to be digestible. And when it comes to like the projects and things like that, like it's something that when you work with your team, it's definitely like doable. Um, I feel like if you just want to have like more experience in just research and just like the legislative process, it's definitely something to like, you know, apply for and definitely like try to get in because it really is, I feel like something that has been pivotal, like not only to my career, but like to my life experience in itself.
Yeah, just like underscore everything Phoenix said. It was so empowering and clarifying as a person because before attending the SPI, I didn't actually have an explicit interest in going into public policy work. I was always interested in like advocacy in general, but didn't have like a tunnel focus on anything in that field. But it was very like clarifying and empowering to, like Phoenix said, get that digestible information to reveal what is often seen as a mystery of how government and legislation works and like how individuals can play a role in democracy. So getting that like really explained in a digestible way and kind of yeah gaining clarity on what happens seemingly behind the scenes that impacts folks every day. Um, yeah.
Thank you all so much. Pam has, as someone who's been an integral part of putting this whole program together and has worked as a mentor, is there anything else that you would like to share with our people before we just go into any questions?
Well, you know, like I said, I've really enjoyed the SPI groups and I've been a mentor every year. I worked for the legislature for 25 years, so I have a lot of experience there. I worked in a nonpartisan role. And I always like to see people who are excited about policy and people who find their power. And I think one of the things that SPI does is it helps you think about that and how it might fit in your life to be an active participant. You know, and different people introducing you to different people who can help you with that. And I think that you gain as much from working with the other people in your group and your cohort than and everybody who comes and participates as you do, you know, as you do from us. And also we gain a lot from being with you all. We learn so much and it's a really great process, I think. So.
Well, thank you all so much. So, Kennedy, Javier, Kaya, do y'all have any questions for us? And I would love for you to drop what your policy interests are in the chat because that will help us get started in looking at what areas we will cover this year. And just to say, KY policy does cover a lot, but we tend to try to stick to three buckets of policy, which is tax and budget, criminal legal system, and economic security. Although education gets in there plenty, and economic security does cover all of our programs that keep us together: Medicaid, Medicare, TANF, unemployment, all of those things. So, what questions do y'all have for us?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kennedy Little. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you all so much for hosting this event, and thank you to Patience and Phoenix for sharing your experiences. So I have a question on if I am eligible for this program. So I currently am a senior at Morehead State, and I have one more semester left before I graduate. I'm wondering if that would still make me eligible.
Yeah, you're golden.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kaya. I don't have my camera on because I'm at work and I work with littles. But I don't have any questions. I think all of my questions have already been answered, but I did just want to unmute and say how excited I am to be able to apply for this program. I don't know a ton about policy, but I want to know all the things or a lot of the things, and this just feels like a great place to learn. Like Phoenix and Patience said that it was like a good place to figure out things and ask questions and get a better understanding. So really excited about that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, we have 2 minutes to 4. I will stare at you oddly for 30 seconds if there's any more questions.
Natalie is, by the way, really good at the odd stare.
But I did lie. I'm not going to stare for a whole 30 seconds or a whole 60 seconds. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We did record it thanks to Patience reminding me. And I'm sure we will put this up somewhere so others can find it after the fact. But thank you all for joining us. It's a lot nicer to be able to do all this with others on the call. And we have questions to answer and all of that. So we hope to get your registrations and your applications anyway for SPI as soon as we can. But again, that is open until March 31st, and so we won't be doing any deep dives into applications until that closing time. But thank you so much. Please do share out the program with anyone else who may be interested, and we just appreciate your time. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.